Hi, I'm Dr. David Dobson. Welcome to Conversations. Today I'm joined by Dr. Rose Asgharzadeh. She is an assistant professor of human resources management at Mount Royal University Bissett School of Business in Calgary. Rose is studying a question every organization is now forced to ask: what happens to strategy, structure, and people when artificial intelligence stops being a tool and starts reshaping the workplace? But before she was analyzing business strategy, she was transforming her own life. After moving to Calgary from Iran, she faced a barrier so many newcomers know all too well: lacking Canadian experience. Instead of letting that stop her, she launched a networking campaign to navigate the hidden job market. Rose, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, Dr. David Dobson. That's really my pleasure, and thank you very much for having me here.
Rose, a feature by the national broadcaster highlights that you went on 79 in person coffee meetups to break that Canadian job market. You build your career here on raw, offline human connection. Yet, your new research paper warns that early stage startups are increasingly replacing humans with AI. As an HR expert, does it worry you that work is becoming a cold, data driven loop, or can human grit still outcompute the algorithm?
Oh, great. Yeah, I actually don't think this is a battle between humans and AI. It's really a redesign of work and what makes human valuable. Honestly, this is one of the questions that keeps me up at night, but in the best possible way. Let me tell it to you this way. When I arrived in Canada, I had no professional network and no local experience that employers recognized, even though I had years of real experience and real achievement back home. So I arranged coffee conversations, one after another, and it kept going until I reached 79 meetings.
Lots
Not
of
to
coffee.
ask for a job, yeah, thank you. Not to ask for a job, but to learn, to listen, and to let people know I was here. Those conversations didn't get me a job directly, but they built the relationships and visibility that made future opportunities possible. That's why I'm not worried that AI will make work cold. What worries me is when organizations confuse efficiency with connection.
Mm,
AI can screen 1,000 CVs in a minute.
mm,
It can summarize interviews,
mm,
draft onboarding plans, and analyze workforce data,
mm,
but it can't look someone in the eye,
mm,
recognize potential that
mm.
is not obvious on paper, or choose to believe in someone's potential before they have had the chance to prove it.
Yeah.
And interestingly, that's exactly what my research has found. Studying AI adoption in startups, I saw that the most successful companies were not using AI simply to replace people.
Mm,
They were using it to amplify what people do the best.
mm,
AI handled repetitive work, freeing founders and employees to focus on strategy, creativity, collaboration, and relationship.
mm.
So I call that human leverage, not human replacement. It is really different.
Yeah.
And as AI becomes better
Mm,
at routine tasks,
mm,
so those tasks become commodities. What becomes more valuable are the quality that
mm,
remains uniquely human:
mm. Yeah.
judgment,
Yeah.
empathy, trust, ethical reasoning, adaptability, and ability to inspire others. I often say technology scale information. AI scales productivity, but people scale trust. And trust is still the foundation of leadership, innovation, and every meaningful career and also relationship.
Yeah.
The future, I believe, doesn't belong to people who compete with AI.
Mm.
It belongs to people who know to work with AI without outsourcing their humanity.
Rose, you moved to Calgary in 2023. Beyond the shock of Canadian winter, what was the biggest cultural shock you experienced when navigating the Canadian job market? Was there a moment where you realized the rules of engagement here are completely different?
Uh, yeah, you're right. Everyone expect me to say the biggest culture shock actually was the weather, but honestly, the weather was the easy part. You can buy a warm coat for that, and
Yeah.
I have to admit that infrastructure here for cold weather is brilliant. And
Mm,
everyone
mm,
believes, oh, minus 40 or whatever. No, but here the life in winter is amazing also.
yeah.
So the heated walkways, plug-in parking, and a whole culture,
Yeah.
built around surviving
Mm,
winter well.
mm,
So, no, the real shock was not the cold outside. It was something much harder to prepare for.
mm,
The real culture shock was professional. In Tehran, after 14 years as a university prof at one of the country's leading university, my professional reputation spoke before I did.
mm,
People understood what my institution represented. They understood what 14 years of teaching and research meant. And that credibility actually traveled with me. When I arrived in Canada, I realized something profound. Credentials can open a door, but they cannot walk you through it.
mm,
It wasn't that my experience no longer mattered. It was that my professional reputation hadn't crossed the border with me.
true.
And people could be expected to know my work
Yeah.
or my impact. I had to build trust from the
Mm,
ground up. And that's when I discovered that the real currency was not simple my CV. It was relationships.
mm,
Every coffee conversation became an opportunity to learn, to listen, and to earn
mm,
trust.
mm,
No one owed me an
mm,
opportunity because
mm,
of what I had accomplished
mm,
elsewhere, you know?
mm, mm,
But people were incredibly generous with their advice,
mm,
their time, and
mm,
eventually with confidence.
mm.
Looking back, I don't think I was rebuilding my career. I was translating it. And that required something no degree can provide on its
Mm,
own. It
mm.
was human connection.
And I must say that I really admire your courage. You went out and meet all these people. You probably don't know them, and put yourself in the position to learn.
Thank you.
Yeah. Uh, Rose, despite holding a doctorate and over a decade teaching experience, you still hit that frustrating no Canadian experience wall. How did it feel mentally to encounter that barrier, and what shifted in your mindset that made you choose proactive networking over giving up?
It was really frustrating, to be
Mm,
honest. Not
mm,
because I questioned
mm,
my education. I
mm,
knew what I had accomplished.
yeah,
The difficult part was realizing that experience doesn't automatically transfer across borders, as I
mm,
mentioned before.
mm, mm,
I had a choice. I could spend a month trying to actually convince people my past matter,
mm,
or I could invest that energy creating a future network. That's
mm,
why I schedule coffee after coffee. I stopped thinking, who will hire me?
mm,
And started asking, who can I learn from today?
mm,
And ironically, once I stopped chasing jobs and started building relationships and opportunities,
mm.
so that positions and opportunities started finding me. The experience changed how I think about careers forever here.
Rose, you are now a faculty member at Mount Royal University teaching human resources. How does your personal journey of navigating the Canadian hiring system change how you teach that course to the next generation? What is one piece of advice you give your students about recruitment that they simply won't find in a textbook?
As a contract faculty at Mount Royal University, I tell my students something they won't find in a textbook. I say recruitment is not only about matching skills,
Mm,
it's about reducing uncertainty.
mm,
And hiring managers are not simply asking, can this person do the job?
mm,
They're asking, can I trust this person?
mm.
And resumes communicate uh, competence,
Yeah.
but relationship communicate confidence.
Mm,
So I teach HR students that networking is not manipulating,
mm,
it is relationship building. The best careers are rarely built through application alone.
mm.
Here in Canada, they are built through reputation.
Rose, you are looking at a classroom full of future people, managers, but your research suggests that AI is rapidly automating routine tasks like resume screening and basic onboarding. If algorithms are taking over the traditional task that human resource graduates usually learn the ropes on, how should students prepare for a job market where those entry level roles are being automated away?
Yeah, this is probably the biggest shift happening right now. And I always talk about it in my classroom.
Mm,
Many things has changed. For decades, people learned HR by doing administrative work. You know, they
yeah.
came to university and after that started admin work. Scheduling interview, as you mentioned, the screening resume, preparing onboarding documents, and etc. AI already performed much of that,
Mm,
and so that it is mainstreaming. And so where do students learn? I
mm,
say the answer is by developing what AI cannot easily replicate.
mm,
The key is in soft skills,
mm,
asking better questions, solving ambiguous problems,
mm,
facilitating difficult conversations,
mm,
and also influencing leaders, showing them that you have some abilities that AI cannot do it. Understanding organizational system. You know, the entry level job is becoming less about administration nowadays
mm,
and more about judgment and soft skills.
mm,
So students shouldn't compete with AI. They should become the person who knows when AI is right and when it is not.
mm.
Because if they are not having that skill, so not only themselves as an employee, but also the whole organization is in a big risk.
Yeah,
And this is what matters nowadays.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Rose, in your research on startup drivers, you mentioned that a team's AI fluency determines whether artificial intelligence is an asset or a total distraction. For an HR student looking to stand out to employers today, what does AI fluency actually mean for a people manager? Do they need to learn to code or it is about something else?
You know, normally when we talk about AI and job with people, and especially with the students, people think AI fluency means writing better prompts.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
that's correct, but that's only about 10% of it. And AI influence is really the ability to understand where AI creates value, where it creates risk, and where human must remain accountable. For HR professional, it means asking questions like, should AI make this decision?
Mm,
Or what bias could exist? Because when there is bias, uh, my research showed that AI can amplify it.
mm,
And who do we explain actually
mm,
all these to? And so these are something that we need to think about it before when we want to do such a thing in our
mm,
positions.
mm. Right. Your study introduces the concept of role compression, where AI handles routine tasks so a tiny startup can scale without adding headcount. From an HR perspective, are these hyper-compressed roles sustainable for humans long term? Or are we just creating a burnout journalist who are expected to do the work of an entire department?
Yeah, that is another problem that we have nowadays because companies' mindset, some of managers' mindset is completely different. And
Mm,
I can say it can be sustainable or only if organization redesign the work,
mm,
not simply compress it.
mm,
One danger we identified in actually my research is assuming that because AI saves, for example, 2 hours, employees should now do 2 more hours of work.
mm,
That is not transformation. That
yeah.
is digital overload.
Mm,
And organizations need to redesign expectation, decision making, collaboration, and well being. Otherwise, AI increases efficiency while quietly increasing burnout. And
mm,
as HR leaders, we know one of our duty is keeping mental health and physical health of our employee.
mm,
And so the healthiest organization won't ask how much work can AI help people do. They will ask how can AI help people do better work,
mm.
be more productive, but also healthier.
Right. Yeah. Rose, you write that the companies navigating this AI transition well won't be the ones moving fastest, but the ones thinking hardest about what they are willing to trade away, like trust, inclusion, and human judgment. How do founders protect human trust when these algorithms are constantly changing and the pressure is always on to move fast?
Mm. Yeah, I can answer in one sentence. Never automate trust.
Mm,
Speed is valuable.
mm,
Everyone knows, especially
mm,
in modern life.
yeah.
We need to save some time.
Mm,
Companies need actually
mm,
this, but trust is priceless.
mm,
Every AI decision should pass 3 questions, I believe. Is it transparent?
yeah.
Is it fair? And can a human intervene?
Mm,
Technology should accelerate execution, you
mm,
know, but it should never replace accountability.
mm,
Companies that earn trust today will earn competitive advantage tomorrow.
mm. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Good point. Rose, looking ahead, where does your teaching and research go next? Will you be tracking these AI startups over the next few years to see how they actually play out?
I'm fascinated by what happens after AI adoption. Most study ask, can AI improve productivity? But I'm more interested in asking, what kind of organization are we becoming because of AI? I want to follow and continue AI augmented startups over time in 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, and see how do leadership and roles evolve. How does culture change, and how does people, employees, and employers show resistance actually with these changes? How do careers develop? Which organization create sustainable human performance, and so which simply create faster burnout, as we talked. That's, I think, the next chapter of my research.
Yeah, wonderful. Rose, if someone is listening right now who are just arrived in Canada or is planning to make the move soon, and they are staring down the exact same no Canadian experience barrier, what advice do you have for them?
If you or your audience remember nothing else from this conversation, I encourage them to remember coffee. Coffee has an acronym. I'll explain. It's literally how I built actually my career here. So it felt right to build the advice the same way. C in acronym coffee, I can say, stands for curiosity over need. Reach out because you are curious about someone's work, not because you need something from them. People can always tell the difference. And O in coffee stands for one conversation at a time. Don't try to network everyone at once. Show up fully for one person before you move to the next, and fully prepared for it. The first F, I believe, it stands for faith in the process. You won't see where any actually single coffee leads. You just have to trust that showing up again and again eventually gets you somewhere. The second F, I can say, follow up always. A short thank you after coffee meeting, an update actually 3 weeks later. That's what turns a single coffee into an actual relationship. E, the first E, expect rejection. Most of my 79 conversation didn't lead anywhere directly. That's not failure, I believe. That's just the cost of doing it for real. And the second E, I can say, every cup builds a bridge. That's the part people miss. Each coffee is not networking. It is a small bridge, a small brick to somewhere you cannot see yet. So coffee as curiosity, one at a time, faith in the process, follow up, expect rejection. Every cup builds a bridge. So these acronym is my own lived experience. Those 79 coffees were not meetings. They were bridges. And every bridge eventually led somewhere I couldn't reach alone.
It's a beautiful reminder that human connection is still what matters most. Rose, thank you so much for your time and your experience and your insight into the future of work today. We wish you all the very best.
Thank you very much for having me, and it's a wonderful actually discussion and chat. I really enjoyed it, and I hope it can resonate with some people.